What do you think needs to happen with Deshaun at this point?
To me, it's very clear what ought to happen. Deshaun Watson should want this, and this team should do whatever it takes to get him, and that's be traded to the Chicago Bears. That's the team that Deshaun Watson should want to go to, and that's the team that should want Deshaun Watson the most for a variety of reasons. Guys, I know it ain't no taxes and it's cold weather. I get all that. Chicago is a football-obsessed city. I remember a Saturday Night Live skit from way back in the day. Remember Da Bears? I remember they had Michael Jordan on in the middle of one of his three-peats when he was the most famous person in the world and the most beloved all around the world. And they were doing something about Jordan versus Ditka and how the universe would explode because you can't choose a winner between those two. And I was thinking, what? Mike Ditka, who I think is recognized as maybe the most overrated head coach. I mean, they carried his defensive coordinator, Buddy Ryan, off the field, right? And he was considered at least as responsible as Ditka, versus the greatest basketball player ever. Why is that close? Because that town is obsessed with the Bears. The '85 Bears are probably the greatest team ever, and it's their only Super Bowl championship. Like, the Bears are a franchise who's never really had a great quarterback in the Super Bowl era. You want about Sid Luckman in the 50s? Are people crazy? In the Super Bowl era, who's been their best quarterback? McMahon? What? Are people serious? Rex Grossman? Who is it? Jay Cutler? When Jay Cutler's probably one of your three best quarterbacks of the Super Bowl era, Jim Harbaugh, better known for coaching, obviously, you have a real problem. And it's even bigger than that, guys, because the Bears botched the Deshaun Watson draft. They took Trubisky. They moved up to take him, and they have a chance to get that right. It makes all the sense in the world from the Bears' point of view. When you look at that defense, even the receivers they have, not deep, but they have what you need. When you look at the Bears, you pick up Deshaun Watson and add an offensive lineman or two, just like that. You are a perennial Super Bowl threat, and you have your first great quarterback of the Super Bowl era in a football-crazy town. From Deshaun Watson's point of view, guys, he would have a chance to be an icon unlike he would be anywhere else. If he delivered a single Super Bowl to the Chicago Bears, he would occupy a place in the cultural landscape, in the American sports imagination, that very few occupy because of how great he is, because of the storied franchise he'd be playing for, and because he delivered them finally after a drought since 1985. Deshaun Watson should want it, so should the Bears, and that's where he should go. They should try to make that happen.
No surprise. You're wrong. You're wrong. He's wrong. He's wrong, Charlie. It's not that interesting. He's wrong. And here's why you're wrong, Max, because you're thinking about Chicago. You're thinking about Deshaun Watson's ability. You're not thinking about Matt Nagy and Ryan Pace. As an organization, these guys are the ones responsible for bypassing him and moving up into the draft, bypassing him and Patrick Mahomes to draft Mitchell Trubisky. They didn't believe in him. And as far as I'm concerned, why should you want to go there? Why should you want to be a quarterback throwing the football in the Windy City in November, in December, and potentially into January? No, your success is going to be predicated on a running game. The reason why the Chicago Bears haven't had a great amount of success since, the shuffling crew in 1985 is because they didn't have Walter Payton. They didn't have sweetness, okay? The reality of the situation, you got to be able to run that football. You got to be able to defend and run the football in Chicago due to inclement weather alone. And so I look at it from that perspective, and I don't like the idea of him in Chicago. I'd like him much, much better in Miami, because in Miami, I love the combination of what Chris Greer and Brian Flores is doing. And I love the fact that not only is Deshaun Watson an elite player, but he's a conscientious observer. And he sees what's transpiring within that organization and the feelings that he clearly has about the Houston Texans right now and how they're a bit backwards and slow to come to the party, per se. That's his issue with them, not just on the football field, but as an organization. That's not an issue you hear taking place near South Beach in Miami, Florida, with the Dolphins organization led by two African Americans in Chris Greer and Brian Flores. I think that would be the ideal situation for him as opposed to Chicago.
That's not a bad one. That's not a bad one at all, Stephen A., because you talk about the Miami Dolphins and assets and the cap room that they have. How about this one? How about the 49ers? How about the 49ers? Could you imagine Deshaun Watson playing under Kyle Shanahan and his play calling ability with the running game, the rushing attack that they would be able to bring to the table? That wasn't even Max. That wouldn't even be fair right now if you put Deshaun Watson with
It wouldn't be fair.
Arguably the best play caller in the league in Kyle Shanahan. That to me that would be scary. So I mean, listen, I don't disagree with the Miami situation because of assets and possibly, that type of trade. But for me, man, I would love to play. If I'm a quarterback, particularly Deshaun Watson, I would love to go to San Francisco and play.
I love both of your suggestions. He makes a ton of sense in Miami, and San Francisco, forget about it, right? By the way, also two brands from that same era where the Bears won that Super Bowl from the 80s. But, guys, you have to use your imagination here. What did Dabo call Deshaun coming out of college? He said he's the next Michael Jordan. He's the Michael Jordan of football, something that's never really existed. Deshaun Watson this year has taken a jump from, are we overrating him a little bit because he feels like a winner? Is he actually as good as we thought? Oh, yeah. Yeah, he is. If you don't have Patrick Mahomes, Deshaun Watson, considering age, ability, what he's already done, you can't do better than that. Yeah, he is. And again, the Chicago Bears occupy a different space in the football consciousness of America, right? They're different, the 85 Bears, and they've been starving for a quarterback. Stephen A., you said they didn't believe in him. You're right. Now, head coaches can be changed. So can front offices. But if the Chicago Bears have a chance to get that draft right, it's like you get to go back and redo it and not live forever going, yeah, we took Trubisky instead of Deshaun Watson.
Thanks for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.